Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule, presented by FanDuel. Today is Friday, April 17th, and Mizzou men's basketball is off and running in the transfer portal sphere of 2026. The Tigers have secured the services of two players, one of whom we've talked about on a previous show. The other, sort of an out-of-the-blue, I guess, addition, depending on where you've been looking at, but certainly not a guy we've talked about on here yet, but we will second, because I'm declaring we're going to talk about a one Mr. Jamir Jones first. Change that screen, producer man. I'm keeping you on your toes, Kenny. Mizzou added two players in the transfer portal, getting the additions, both Power 5 additions so far for Missouri, getting to on back-to-back days.
The proper term is high major.
Dennis Gates called him Power 5.
Did he really?
He did call Jamir Jones a Power 5 player.
Kaboom.
Dude, what? Ew.
Kaboom. Two additions from the high major ranks before I was so rudely interrupted. One of whom is Jaylen Kerry, who we'll talk about in a minute. The other is Jamir Jones, a forward from Providence, who just finished up his freshman season with the Friars under, of course, Kim English, former Mizzou player, who is the coach at Providence. Good addition here for the Tigers. Jones in his one season, very close to 12 points, 11.9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 1.4 assists. He shot 57% from the field, 38% from three, 66% from the field, about 25 minutes per game. This feels like a very exciting, I mean, we're probably going to regurgitate some things about him that we talked about before when we were, just looking at players before Mizzou had gotten any official additions. But Jones, very much a starting caliber kind of wing player. Payton, this feels like a really nice add, a guy with some definite high upside going into his sophomore year after a productive season. Providence wasn't a very good team last year, but he was able to stick out. And they had some other good players, and he was able to make an impact year one and is now coming to Columbia to try and do the same thing, Payton.
I mean, yeah, certainly a top 50 recruit out of high school, depending on where you look. Averaged 12-5 as a freshman in the Big East. That's certainly not a nothing player. Definitely not just another guy. I definitely like this one. It kind of had been on the burner for a while, it felt like. I think he was like the first one or two guys we heard linked to Missouri. You got to be pretty happy with this one. I mean, definitely a decent shooter from deep, but it was on pretty much no attempts, only 31 attempts on the season at Providence. So, and I mean, Missouri even tweeted like a highlight reel of him, and I noticed there was not one jumper in the highlight reel. It was all like him making these explosive driving plays to the basket. Hell of a dunker, I'll tell you what. Someone tweeted a stat. I think he was like of all freshmen in college basketball last year, I think he had like the second most dunks behind Caleb Wilson. There was some stat like that.
You're right. Believe in yourself. You're right.
Thank you. I just want to hedge just in case I'm wrong. But Jones, I mean, definitely a lot of intrigue. Certainly seems like a crazy good athlete. 6'6", 210. I'm sure you could see him line up at 2 through 4 on the court. It's certainly starting to look like we're going to have a very interesting roster puzzle to go through. for the Missouri Tigers next year. Dennis Gates is definitely, I think, kind of getting back to his, all right, I want to get back to playing these kind of positionless roles. I think you're going to see a completely reimagined front court. You kind of had to play more traditional last year, just with, I mean, Phillips was a 5 through and through. Mitchell was a 5 or a 4 through and through. So you kind of couldn't see a whole ton of versatility there. But I mean, now with guys like Jones, Pierce, we're still waiting on an answer with Tiller, Carey, who we'll get to, ton of returners. Very intriguing roster so far. I'm very happy with how it's looking at the moment.
And Payton's kind of build off that. It doesn't feel like they're going after a guy like Sebastian Mack this year, where it was a little bit of a head scratcher on how he fit that rotation of what you've seen in years past for Dennis Gates. Seems like he's going after guys that he really wants. And man, I'm excited to talk about Kerry and how that fits as well. But with Jamir Jones, there's so much versatility. I spoke with Jason Crowe Sr., who's going to be on the Missouri staff this summer. He did say that he'll report with Jason Jr., with J2, on June 8th is when they're expected to show up on campus. But talk to him a little bit. And the one big thing that he pointed out about Jamir is that it's not really about what's in the past now. It's about how much can he expand his game in these next couple months with Missouri? How can he fit multiple roles? He said that, he's not going to talk about complementary basketball and how he and J2 might work together, depending on what parts of the court they're on. But he said, they're very competitive players, and he really thinks Jamir Jones just has more to show, that he wants to show a lot more than what he could do. And this guy already averaged double figures last year at Providence as a freshman and earned all conference freshman honors. So I think it's a great pickup. I mean, it was a name that was linked forever for Missouri, and it was just a matter of time. And Mizzou announced it officially as well. It was a quote from Dennis Gates too. After that, I'll pull it up real quick if you want to go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. There is a lot of areas he can kind of expand his game into. Of course, only took 31 threes last year. Did make 12 of them. So maybe is that an area? Could he potentially get more shots from deep, have more of a license to shoot, to try and see if he can kind of expand that efficiency on somewhat higher volume? The counter to that too is he shot nearly 60% from twos this year. Payton mentioned the dunking. He is a guy who was very efficient inside the arc with his scoring. Someone who could get to the free throw line at a decent rate. He drew just under 5 fouls a game, 5 fouls per 40 minutes. That's, in kind of the top third of players in the country. So, those two things could combine for him well. Maybe you see him do some things like Trent Pierce was able to do his sophomore year with the rebounding. Of course, he's a little bit smaller than Trent Pierce is in the height department, but rebounded at a decent rate, was top 20 in defensive rebound percentage among or in conference play. He was third in free throw rate in the Big East as well. So, certainly a guy who looks like he can attack the basket, maybe kind of try to be more of what, you thought the best of Sebastian Mack actually was. Was a guy who could go get himself a bucket, go get himself fouled, but plays with a lot more size and can maybe do even more things than that and kind of expand. And the other piece with that is he is, to me, pretty definitively a wing player. I know I see some kind of mocked starting lineups that, for one, they include Bryson Tiller, who is not a Missouri Tiger, or at least, not yet a Missouri Tiger. If, everyone kind of has to pump the brakes there. There's still teams going for him, but it also kind of includes a backcourt of Jones and Crowe. I don't know that Dennis will be satisfied with that. I don't think Jamir Jones is the backcourt partner that you probably dream of next to Jason Crowe, but certainly a guy who can and probably should start in Missouri's lineup, as one of those two wings, along with a guy like Trent Pierce. So I really like the addition. I think, Kenny, you bring up a good point that he can kind of expand his game. Did you have you want to say the quote?
Yeah, I'll do the quote real quick. We're excited to add Jamir to our family after a tremendous freshman season at Providence. This quote comes from Dennis Gates. We've already seen him improve. a lot in 1 year at the Power 5 level and know that he will continue to reach new heights within our system, which really fits his playing style as a jack of all trades that can shine in multiple ways. His addition adds tremendous size to our roster, and he's a punishing downhill player that can play on both ends of the court.
Yeah, the second part of that statement is certainly true. And he was just under a steal a game, 0.3 blocks. I mean, there aren't like a ton of defensive stats that stick out yet, but yeah, a guy who, can maybe expand that part of the game as well and be impactful as a kind of maybe versatile defender, a guy who you could maybe try and throw on some taller wings and maybe some smaller guards too, depending on how good he looks in that area. The other guy that Mizzou added, a lot more of a specialist potentially in one area of the floor specifically, and that is Jaylen Kerry. This was not a guy we mentioned. I didn't have him on my Mizzou kind of tier list of potential transfers. I know you guys look at it a lot more frequently than I do in terms of the names that get thrown into the mix, or when Missouri ends up on those lists of 1,000 teams for players, and maybe they popped up for Kerry, but this one felt like it sort of emerged. So Kenny, I will go to you for this first, because not only might you have a good idea of that, but you spoke to the man himself, and I want to hear what he had to say about joining Mizzou.
Yeah, so Jaylen Kerry did a Zoom call with Dennis Gates on Sunday. A few hours later, after multiple conversations with his family, going through the pros and cons of going to Missouri, he just felt like it was the right fit for that final year of eligibility. He was a junior at Tennessee, spent his sophomore season at Vanderbilt, started college basketball, James Madison. A lot of familiarity with Dennis Gates to begin with. And it doesn't even start with his own recruitment. It starts with his older brother, Vernon Carey Jr. It's a name, if you know the NBA, if you know Duke. He played 2 years at Duke, was drafted in the second round. He's now in the NBA G League. But Gates recruited him at Florida State his final year there before he left for Cleveland State. So they've known his family for 7-8 years now. So there's been a close connection already, and just continued to build. And he showed interest. Gates showed interest in Kerry out of the transfer portal last year in between Vanderbilt and Tennessee. He was wanted him then. And so this time around, Gates is already close with Kerry's agent. And this was a quote from Kerry. He obviously knew he wanted me because he also wanted me last summer. I thought this was the best one that he had out of that. Was I feel like Missouri is the best fit for me right now. I believe in Coach Gates, and I know he believes in me. That's all I needed. So Gates wants to see him expand his game a little bit more. There were times last year where he just wasn't making shots anymore. He knows that his free throw game is just something that he has to continue to fine tune and work on, and not be a thorn in his game. And of course, he is this physical rebounder and specimen on the inside. Stephen Pearl said it was like looking at a defensive end on a basketball court when Jaylen Kerry was on the floor. So we can talk about his size, all day, but for Gates is that he wants to see him expand that game. And there was some comparisons that Kerry had to Rick Barnes and Dennis Gates about how they both want the best for their players off the court once basketball is over as well. So I think that was a plus, going to a coach that had a very similar mindset. I thought this was also a good quote. I'll end it here. I asked him about, playing at Mizzou Arena because he committed without even visiting. He said he'll be there this weekend or sometime next week for the first time as a member of the team. But he said the fan base is crazy there. I've never won there. I thought that was a good one. He's like to feed off the energy that Mizzou Arena's had the last couple of years. And one of the big things that he just wants to do now is get further in March. He went to the Elite Eight last year. The Volunteers don't make it to the Elite Eight without him. That's what I heard from VolQuest, which is the On3 Volunteers coverage site. And they said, if he's not on that team, they cannot make it as far as they did.
Payton Jaylen Kerry, he'll be on his fourth school in 4 seasons. Like Kenny mentioned, followed Mark Byington, of course, started at James Madison, went to Vandy, then last year at Tennessee, 7.4 points, 6 rebounds a game, played around 18 and a half minutes a night, 8 starts, 37 appearances. What do you make of the 6'8" junior coming over from JMU? And I believe I have one more stat. Yeah, that's the right James Madison team. So yeah, 3 for 3, of course, in the NCAA tournament, was on that Mark Byington team in 2024 that upset Wisconsin, won 30 games. Then, of course, with Vandy last year, and Tennessee got to the Elite Eight. So plenty of tournament experience, Payton, for Mr. Jaylen Kerry.
Yeah, I mean, and this is third SEC team in 3 years, so I think that is a plus that he has been able to stick around the league and have that much experience in it. Uh, I don't really know how much stock I can put into him specifically being like in the tournament all 3 years. It certainly isn't a negative. But I mean, just a ferocious rebounder. I believe he was top 10 in the country in offensive rebound percentage.
Number 10, in fact.
Number 10 on the dot. He had a whale of a game against Missouri when they visited Mizzou Arena. He had no points, but grabbed 10 boards, had 1 assist, didn't turn the ball over, and only committed 1 foul. Foul trouble, despite the fact that this dude is like regarded as like this physical, like dirty work monster, really was never in foul trouble that much. I went back through his box scores. He fouled out 1 time last year, and it was against Tennessee State. Had a couple really monster games against Iowa State in the tournament. He was 5 for 6 from the field, grabbed 10 boards, had 11 points. Against Syracuse, a game they actually lost, he had 22 and 9. He took 18 shots in that game, made 10 of them. So certainly this is not like some guy that's going to do it all for you, but certainly a very, very high level specialist. I think it, as you described him, Knowlton, has a very good role, should fit in nicely. I have no idea how the roster puzzle is going to work. I would think they ideally won't start Carey at the 5. He kind of profiles, he's always been like a 4 from the looks of it. But again, I won't lock anybody into any sort of role at the moment. It's going to be a big old jigsaw puzzle for Dennis to put together.
Yeah, he only has 9 career starts in those 3 seasons. So, I'm not so sure that, and again, you have to see, how the portal shakes out. I don't think Missouri is done with front court options and trying to track some of those guys down and add to that area of the court yet. But Jaylen Kerry, I mean, feels like his role, at least at Vandy in Tennessee, was kind of found. And it was that off the bench guy, a guy who can give you a lot of minutes off the bench and do a lot with those, whether it's take over a game from time to time or whether it's pretty consistently grab rebounds and be that guy that can make the difference on the glass that we've seen throughout Dennis's tenure, whether good or bad, has made the difference in games a lot for Missouri. So I think definitely a what you're getting guy, and a guy who is going to do a job in an area that you can never have enough good rebounders on a college basketball team, Kenny.
I would also want to point out, this is a fun jigsaw puzzle. I mean, is that fair to say? Like so far, just with the 2 additions there?
It's a lot more fun to have players like this to do it with, and potentially guys like Bryson Tiller, than it is to like kind of piece it together with Sebastian Mack, Jacob Cruz, and others.
Breaking news!
All right, breaking news. I'm not sure where this is going to go in the show because we talked about this guy in the main segment, but we're back with our future selves on Thursday. Payton, can you do a breaking news ticker for me?
Yeah, I think Kenny also just had a magnet activate right next to him, and it like sucked his head off the screen.
Where are you going?
Interesting.
Ah!
I had to sneeze twice, so I had to pull myself away.
Also, no, I can't do the ticker. I'm in as a guest right now. Oh, you want me to make the noise?
Yeah, make a noise. Breaking news! Missouri has just secured its 3rd commitment in the transfer portal. That's my SpongeBob, the newscaster fish impression. Yes, we talked about him potentially just a second ago. Again, I have to re-listen back and see where I'm going to interject this segment into the pod. Missouri has officially landed a 1 Bryson Tiller. He has made the jump to the good guys over from Kansas to Missouri, announced on a commitment. Whoa. Wow, Kenny. I'm just going to let you explain yourself. You're going to have to explain
why don't
yourself.
You say what you – why don't you
yeah,
show
what were you thinking there?
I thought Payton would say something. I thought Payton's the one who put it up.
But he didn't.
You asked him to put the ticker.
I just said I can't do the ticker.
Well, you now know how Kenny feels about the border war, I guess. Yeah, Bryson Tiller is a Missouri Tiger, official committed on Thursday morning. We were recording this segment on Thursday morning. Played, of course, for Kansas and now switches over to Mizzou, the player to be named later in the Parker Brown trade. Tiller, a very good center, very exciting addition. We won't try to step on our toes too much from what we talked about with the potential of adding him in, but 35 games last year for Kansas. Of course, he was a former, I believe, 5-star freshman. I didn't check where he was ranked by every outlet, but 35 games, 31 starts, played about 26 minutes a game, 8.6 rebounds, 1 assist, about 1.3 blocks per game. Some good advanced numbers for him as well. Had some really good games kind of in the later stages of Big 12 play, January into February. At 18 and 8 against Arizona, a couple of double doubles, had a double double against Houston in late February, 13 points in the Big 12 tournament against TCU. So some really exciting potential coming into the front court, fellas, and he's now officially official. So we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it. I mean, he had some great moments this season. He's far from a finished product, especially offensively. His shooting splits don't like jump out at the page, jump off the page at you. But the pedigree here, the ceiling, just the athletic makeup. I mean, he's 6'11", 240, 6'10", 240, depending on where you look. It's so enticing. I mean, this is easily... I'm not even going to try to ballpark who's playing what position on the team currently because it's such a complicated puzzle. If he is the 5, this is very easily the most complete, maybe not complete is the right word, but the most exciting, definitely the highest priority 5-man Missouri has ever pulled out of the portal under Gates. And this, I mean, it's hard to do, especially now with the prices just like flying up more and more. Big men have never been cheap. They're not any cheaper now. I think it says a lot about where the budget Missouri is kind of operating on right now. It seems like they're definitely swimming in some deep waters. Feels like they recognize the urgency of having Jason Crowe Jr. come into campus and having him for a year. They're pretty intent on maximizing it, it looks like.
And it's maximizing the size around him too. Not necessarily the height, but the physicality behind some of these additions are pretty big for Missouri. You look at Carey and Tiller. I mean, those are very solid 4s and 5s to put in that rotation, and a lot of muscle and physical parts behind that can really help out Jason Crowe as he adjusts to the SEC pretty quickly and adjusts to his freshman year as a presumed starter for this Tigers team. So it's good to bring in guys that have experience from those levels as well that can play right alongside him. And I'm sure they'll be looking for buckets on the inside with Jason Crowe continuing to expand his game as a facilitator as well once he gets into non-conference play in the next couple of months, or maybe I wouldn't say next couple, but in 6 or 7 months from now. And the last thing I'll mention on this, and it feels like Dennis Gates really played the long game. I know multiple people pointed this out, including Eli Hoff from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, that when Dennis Gates posted his, bat signal at 10 or 8, was it 9 o'clock? At 9 o'clock, he put a timestamp from September 22nd, 2021 at 6 a.m. And that timestamp, that comes from the day that he offered Bryson Tiller when he was at Cleveland State. And I mean, I was looking through his profile and I came across it because I saw that the offer from Mizzou, and I was thinking, okay, does not match up with the dates. I went down even further on his profile and I was like, oh, that's his Cleveland State offer. Is the 3rd offer he ever reported in his recruitment. So that is just like the prime example, perfect example of Dennis Gates that he and associate head coach Kyle Smith-Peters has spoken about even last year when they were ramping up for the season, how much those relationships can pay off in the long run. You'll miss on guys now. Bryson Tiller went to a bigger brand, a team that's been very successful in the past 10, 15 years in Kansas. And he still had that connection with Dennis Gates and his family. had that connection with Dennis Gates as well, and it just paid off in the long run once these guys hit the portal. It has become the identity of Mizzou, not just basketball, but football. This school has been one where it's like, it's not necessarily the second chance, but it was always the kind of the perfect fit. And, once you realize it doesn't work somewhere else, you try to make it work at Mizzou.
Yeah,
I do want to say, I think that definitely helps, at least get Tiller interested in Mizzou, but let's not beat around the bush. If Missouri doesn't have a very competitive offer monetary wise on the table, I don't think Tiller even looks at Missouri, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, there were obviously a lot of other visits, canceled. Miami was a team that was interested. They go out and get Searle. I know there were a few others that ended up with some other center options, and that maybe helped Mizzou. But I think Kenny is right as well. I think you guys are both correct. This is the Eli Drinkwitz model, right? Where they are not afraid to keep recruiting guys and keep those relationships, to try and circle back to them when, of course, you can be helped by the NIL and some of that stuff. And Missouri certainly had all that here. You can never knock Dennis Gates for that. He is not a guy that is going to lose a recruitment and necessarily close the door for a player. And that does help pay it off, on top of course, the work of people like Tim Fuller and others, to secure funds and move funds around to be able to throw competitive offers at really talented players. And that's what Mizzou did here with Tiller. Payton, you had some more on that?
I mean, it's just obviously, I think the big thing I mentioned before, the price of big men is so obscene, honestly, is the best way to put it for me. In the portal, we've seen Missouri have some really high profile whiffs on some of the big men in the past. You think of Caden Shedrick is one that always, I think, pops into people's heads. Matthew Cleveland, not a 5, but still a big man. You wind up having to settle for Vanover. I don't even remember who they necessarily whiffed on, but they wound up with Josh Gray, who was obviously not their top option. Last year, even, I mean, I don't think Phillips was probably the first choice. So it's nice to see them kind of go out. And again, I have no idea if Tiller's going to play the 5 or not. But for them to kind of not swing and miss this time, I think is a testament to kind of where they're at as a program.
He had 45 blocks last year. That was 11th in the Big 12. And that was, by the way, in a front court that also contained Flory Badunga, who led the nation in blocks. And to me, that kind of dynamic makes some intriguing things too, Payton, when you talk about the positional fit. And this is where I'll kind of step on, maybe what we had earlier in the pod, but just the amount of forwards in this team, and Tiller coming from a place where he had to do kind of the big to big work on offense with Badunga. You saw that a lot last year with Mark Mitchell as he grew his game passing. They looked for a lot of lobs to Sean Phillips, which sometimes was frustrating, I admit. But Dennis is comfortable operating with kind of multiple bigs out there, it seems like. And when you can get a forward, I'm not saying Tiller is Mark Mitchell, but if you can get one of these forwards to kind of expand their game offensively, that opens some stuff up when you have 2 on the court. And of course, you think Tiller's defensive impact in the paint is going to go up when he might be the guy, or, when there's 2 guys out there, the primary kind of rim defender, when he's not in a team with a guy as dominant as Badunga was in that area. So there's room for him to grow there. I think there's plenty of growth to be had from him offensively. I mean, like I said, with the block thing on defense, he was 12th in the Big 12 in block percentage, was 13th in free throw rate. So got to the line a decent amount, and shot 70% in conference play. So that's not, nothing. I feel like we've seen multiple bigs from Mizzou get better at free throws as the season has kind of gone on, especially when they come in as transfers. So, that is something that has the potential to rise. 21st in defensive rebound rate as well. So just a guy, again, you can never have too many guys that are going to go grab your rebounds, especially on the defensive end. If you can get I'm thinking about all the Jason Crowe transition stuff that Mizzou can be able to run if they are a dominant rebounding team, and they're building the front court. Kenny, I mean, would you say it has to feel like Mizzou is pretty well wrapped up in terms of front court additions now? You think about guys who you at least on paper think are going to get playing time next year in Tiller and Jaylen Kerry, the 2 new transfers. Trent Burns, of course, coming back and what he potentially offers in his growth. And of course, Tony Bryant, who you're going to figure out what you have in him as well. That's a lot of minutes to go around. Of course, knock on wood, God forbid any of those guys suffer an injury, but you have some cover there as well now, it feels like.
And you do have like depth returning in the sense of Nicholas Randall being an option there, and same with Luke Northweather at the end of the bench. And, no indication that either of those guys are transferring right now, but, this front court did get a lot deeper, like very fast for Mizzou, and got deeper with guys that, one that's going to be a veteran with 2 years of SEC experience, and one that comes in with 3 years of eligibility. So I think that's always a good thing when you're roster building, that you're not just bringing in guys where it's going to be that kind of consistent revolving door on the interior. And this is one of the first times we've seen that in the Dennis Gates era, where he's bringing in a guy like Tiller with 3 years of eligibility. Yes, Mark Mitchell came in with 2, but this is, a guy that could be around for, the end of his college career. If everything, I wouldn't say if everything goes to plan. If everything goes to plan, he might be in the NBA before then.
I was going to say 3 years of eligibility and still very much NBA potential, I think.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want when you're roster building. If you can keep that guy around too, that's perfect for Mizzou. So yeah, I think the focus now turns to how that backcourt will shake out. More and more, it's looking like Jason Crowe will be your one. Who are you going to pair next to him? We've heard Jamir Jones say that the possibility of him playing the 2, but who else are the Tigers targeting at those guard spots? And would it be more of a player that fits, first guy off the bench, the 6th man? We'll start to see that more in the coming days and weeks.
Payton, any other thoughts from you?
No, this is kind of the most loaded front court I've seen since I've been a lowly Missouri fan. So that you got to be pretty excited about that. They are building a team that in theory could really punish teams down low. And that's going to open up a lot more shooting opportunities, hopefully, for guys like Crowe, guys like Pierce. And I'd assume now the priority is going to be getting shooting and ball handling for Missouri. So we'll see where that ends up.
I've brought this up already with Tiller, but a thing I enjoy looking at on KenPom is the comparisons, and when there are some names that you can recognize for him. And one guy on there listed is Isaiah Mobley, who was at, of course, USC for 3 years in that class of 2019. Very similar profile to Tiller, 6'9", 6'10". He was listed at 220 on his On3 profile. Obviously, I'm sure all that changed as he grew, but you've got Tiller at 6'11", 240 right now. Mobley in 3 years at USC, his points jumped from just over 6, just under 10 to 14 in his 3rd season. Took a leap in rebounding in all 3 of those years as well. So, you look at kind of the projection that maybe you can put Bryson Tiller on, if their play styles and numbers from their first few years in college were similar. That's a guy who can maybe grow in a similar way. KenPom has the comparison is the 2020 Isaiah Mobley, which is when he was averaging about 10 and 7 for that USC team. And he was definitely impactful. That was a tournament team. So if you want a little comparison there, maybe. I'm not saying he is Isaiah Mobley, but KenPom has the numbers that are similar. So
I'd like to circle back on something too. I got some messages, saying if you're comparing the top targets for Mizzou on, who's probably the leader for it, is it Dennis Gates, Tim Fuller, and it's a collaborative effort. It's a lot of guys making it. I think Dennis Gates deserves a lot of flowers here too. Yes, the dollar sign had to be, right for Bryson Tiller to come to Mizzou, but I really think that kind of lasting relationship from 2 different schools does play a part. I also wanted to point out that, because I thought about this last night after we were done recording the first part of the show, Mizzou hasn't officially announced Jaylen Kerry yet to the roster. And I think that'll come after his official visits. We've seen it before where Mizzou wants all the photos of all the guys, like the ones we're seeing with Bryson Tiller. So, I mean, that'd be something to, if you're worried about it, like, why haven't we seen the official graphics yet? I would just say wait until Mizzou gets the photos of him in a uniform, and then they'll put it out. I'm sure they have everything planned out, and there's no worries about him going somewhere else. But I would just say, like, if you see Bryson Tillers go out first before Carey, it's most likely the reason why.
Good point. Of course, he hasn't visited Mizzou, which you mentioned in the earlier segment. But yeah, 3 big ads for Mizzou, headlined by Bryson Tiller. Always good to pull one over on Kansas. And Bryson Tiller is also pulling one over on one of the quick hits conversations, which you'll hear shortly, related to the jersey that he's wearing in these photos. All right, mid-episode edit Jack here. So just as a clarification, the segment you just heard, we recorded on Thursday. We are now going to go back to ourselves on Wednesday talking about Tiller's fit with Mizzou. We did this as a hypothetical because, of course, it wasn't committed at the time. But then we did, so we threw the breaking news in the middle of that recording. And now we'll go back to that segment. But all of our hypotheticals, now a reality with Bryson Tiller in the fold. So back to it.
Yeah, it's not like there's a group of guys where, you don't know what the starting lineup will be, but they're guys that, they wouldn't be starting on the 2024, 2025 Mizzou team. And I think that this is more fun where these are a bunch of guys that could start on these past teams for Mizzou. And there's a lot of different parts of the games that they bring. And maybe that rotation gets a little bit deeper. Maybe it still sticks, around that 7 to 8, 9 range, whatever it may be next year. And I think that's a perfect kind of pivot to what that kind of looks like with Bryson Tiller, who canceled his visit Wednesday to Arizona. A lot of traction with Missouri right now. And I know Miami's the other team in the fold that also got a visit. Payton and Jack, I'll ask you guys this. If he does commit to Mizzou, if he does sign with the Tigers, from the players that are currently on the team, because the roster will expand more with more transfer additions, what do you guys think is like the ideal starting 5 with Bryson Tiller in the fold?
With the guys currently on the team, I can't add someone else. What I would do is Tiller at the 5. I know that's probably not what I think a lot of people expect, but I don't think the front court is going to be used nearly the same way it was last year. I think you're going to see a lot more. I hesitate to say it like this, but I think he would use Tiller at the 5, similar to how Mo Diarra was used at the 5, if that makes sense. At the 4, I'm still not putting Pierce there. With the guys currently on the team, Carey would start at the 4, I think. Then you put Pierce at the 3. I don't want to move Pierce off the 3. I think that is where he's most comfortable. I have a nice vision of Missouri being able to kind of pummel teams down in the paint. You can let Pierce play more at the wing and knock down shots. I think that's what he's more comfortable doing. I think that's what he's best at. Right now, I guess at the 2, you'd have to have Jones of the guys on the team. I would not think that's the most ideal, but who else are you going to play there? I mean, that's got to be – the backcourt's kind of got to be the focus once the Tiller saga is wrapped up one way or another. So I'd put Jones at the 2 for now, but more ideally, Jones is at the 4, a transfer's at the 2, Carey's off, maybe the first guy off the bench. And the 1 is Crowe. At that point, I just think it's I think that's where this is headed. I think they're very comfortable with him running the point. I do want to see him kind of be the focal point, have the ball in his hands. So that is how I would draw it up right now.
I think, I don't really think I can disagree with that. There's just not enough. I actually think Trent Pierce would be fantastic at the 4 with Tiller at the 5. I think that's what they would want to do. I think that's why you bring a guy like this in Jaylen Kerry in, actually, is because you can tell Bryson Tiller and say, listen, you're going to start games at the 5. We can rotate this guy in. He can play some small ball 5 for us. You can go do some stuff that a 4 would normally do, and do some of the stuff similar to what Kobe Brown and Mark Mitchell were doing. I think Tiller can work his way up to kind of having that that role, so to speak, or that like level of impact, I guess. And then obviously you've got Trent Burns, who you can, play. And I think that's the ideal thing for Mizzou if they bring Tiller in, is you have those kind of three guys who you all can kind of sprinkle in at the 5, and you can balance the minutes a little bit. Of course, none of those guys should be playing. Like, I think it's just so hard with bigs. It's hard to play them 35, close to 40 minutes a game, no matter how talented they are. They just get tired or they get in foul trouble. And then, so, given the guys that are on the roster, I think Pierce would be fine at the 4. Again, I think you have to undefine it a little bit from the 4 and the 3. I think the ideal for Mizzou is having 2 skilled guards. One of them is Jason Crowe. The other is someone else. Then you have Jamir Jones and Trent Pierce, who are 2 pretty versatile wings that can do a lot of things. And then you have a big. And then, from there, you can go a little bit bigger with someone like Carey or Burns off the bench. And maybe, if Aaron Rowe takes a leap, or if there's another guard that gets added in, if there's 2 more guards that come in, you can go a little smaller and have 3 guards out there. I think, to go back to what you were saying, Kenny, with the positionless stuff, I think that's where Dennis kind of wants to take this. I also didn't even mention Tony Bryant, of course, in the front court mix as well, and whatever his ceiling ends up being. So that's more depth there. But I think Payton's
a McDonald's All-American we forgot about.
If Tony Bryant is a real conundrum. I think Jason Crowe, you're right, Payton. I think it's really starting to trend toward they want him to run the 1, and it's not we bring a guard who can get him the ball. We let him have the ball and build from there. Tony Bryant, I think, is very much someone who is coming in. Kenny, I think you said it. I forget which coach or scout you quoted, but there was something that stuck with me with him where it was like, because of how he was in high school and how he had to just be everything, there's a little bit with him where you have to figure out kind of what he is and what he's going to be really good at a high level off the bat in college. And I think that's just a guy that, he comes off the bench, you figure it out. And because of how talented he is, maybe you figure it out super quickly and he starts starting games. But that's sort of where I feel with him. But if there is not, if you're like, all right, you got to go into the season, maybe you get Bryson Tiller and that's it. I think Payton's right. I think it ended up being Crowe, Jones, Pierce. I think Kerry would start and then Tiller.
Payton, isn't it crazy? Like 2 months ago, he was saying how Crowe shouldn't even be in the starting lineup or even average around 15 minutes. And now he's like pleading for Crowe. Yeah, only one. Pleading for Crowe to be the starter. Man, I don't know.
How silly do you both feel now, looking back on that? Because I still think that take was ridiculous, even with your explanation.
It's fine. There wasn't even really a take. It was just more of
observation.
It was
based on recent trends.
Yeah.
Dennis has been goofy with starting lineups in the past. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Like, Honor Boateng just randomly started like every non-con freshman year.
Well, and you are right in the vein of like Crowe is just such a different tier of recruit.
Yeah.
like Dennis has obviously had some really good classes, but even when you just look at the number next to their name, which is totally unfair and arbitrary, but it's a little bit harder saying, all right, we're going to bring Honor Boateng off the bench for his first game. It's a little harder to do it with a Jason Crowe Jr., but it was a glean from past observations. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens with Bryson Tiller. We'll see what happens maybe in the backcourt. Still plenty of names kind of floating around there. A couple more emerging potentially. So the portal continues to move, but I really like these first 2 additions for Mizzou. I really liked what Kenny's quotes about Carey. I'm not very excited for him. I just think like having a bruiser like that on your team is just so much fun. You saw a little bit of it at times with guys like Josh Gray and Sean Phillips, trying to even like go back a little bit. And I feel like Gomillion was that at times for Mizzou, could be a little bit enforcery, but just someone who is not going to take any crap from anyone.
Jesus Carolero,
I just think is always great.
The one thing I'll add, Payton, I thought it was interesting how you said that he didn't really ever foul out. If you go, I guess you guys don't use this, but there's a website called Imagen, and I go through it for photos. And
I'm familiar.
Like, every page there's a photo of him in someone's face. Like it's just like not necessarily like fighting, but like he's got words to share.
The first ESPN article, if you pull up his ESPN profile, is like tensions flare in Michigan-Tennessee game, and it's like him in the thumbnail. So I love it. I think you need a guy like that on your team who's gonna kind of, you know, give other people shit and not take any of it. I think that's a good for identity. You know, as long as it doesn't lead to technical fouls, which for him it doesn't seem like it does. So there you go. All right, we're gonna shift. Take a quick break. Everyone take a deep breath and come back. We'll talk about some more things in quick hits. Stay tuned. All right, quick hits time. We'll finish up the show. We've got Jersey of the Week to start off quick hits as per usual on the Friday show. Kenny, whomst is your Jersey of the Week? Is whomst
Jersey?
I don't think that's a word. Sorry.
My Jersey of the Week goes to Zion Young, former Missouri defensive end, making his rounds with NFL visits. Snapped a photo with Brock Olivo, former Mizzou running back and assistant special teams coach, now with the Miami Dolphins as an assistant special teams coach. And way to spoil the fun. Insider Brock Olivo maybe posting this photo saying that Zion Young was on a visit with Miami Dolphins.
Zion Young and Theo Wees in Miami.
Brock Olivo's got quite the chin. That is a good chin.
He's Italian. Don't Italians have nice chins?
I don't know.
He does have a very chiseled, like, sort of.
Isn't that what he's like? He was known for that. He was like this
him.
Chiseled Hercules.
He kind of looks like
back.
He kind of looks like the one Squidward meme, but not in a bad way. It just reminds me of him.
Handsome Squidward.
Yeah, handsome Squidward. All right, moving on from handsome Squidward. Payton, who's your Jersey of the Week?
My Jersey of the Week is going to go to anyone on the Mizzou baseball team. Why?
Hey, Payton, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Do you know what that looks like in that photo?
What?
It looks like a baseball or softball infield. You know what else is happening on a baseball / softball infield?
Yeah, actually, Wrigley Field has a Mizzou volleyball game. They're going to put the court half on the infield, half on the outfield.
Oh, yeah,
Despite
that's right.
what some people may say, that is completely plausible and possible. But back to Mizzou baseball. Their game at Missouri State was canceled. I don't believe it will be made up. I think it was announced it would not be made up. It was canceled due to weather. Mizzou kind of looking to get off the schneid. They had a great opportunity to really pull themselves out of the cellar of the SEC. They played and at the time 2-win South Carolina team, and they got swept at home. So that was a pretty cataclysmic step backwards. Especially, I mean, like none of the losses were like blowouts either, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, that just kind of goes to show it's still one step forward, 2 steps back.
Poor Mizzou baseball. Stay safe in the Midwest. A lot of crazy weather this spring. My Jersey of the week
showers.
Is going to go to Jamir Jones. I don't know if this is a good start to Jamir Jones's tenure at Mizzou, though. He posted some photos. Funnily enough, another quote from Dennis Gates here with this tweet. But the photos of Jamir and Dennis with the old Mizzou jerseys, not the Block M ones, the old Mizzou from our era in Como. Do you think they just didn't have the Block M jerseys available, or is this a sign?
I don't think this means anything until otherwise stated. Maybe he just liked those more than the Black M's. It's entirely possible, but I really hope they don't go back to these. I mean, we are in like a golden era of Mizzou basketball jerseys right now. I have all 3 hanging in my closet.
Can I throw one thing out there?
Yeah.
These home whites specifically aren't bad. The Block M's are way better.
I don't think any of them are that bad. I do. The Block M's are 1,000 times better.
The yellow giant tiger logo is awful. I hope they never put that jersey on again.
You're not gonna like my take about those. I don't dislike them. I kind of like them. I get a lot of good memories with those jerseys.
I've got 2 college hoops things, and it's put the Final Four in a basketball stadium. I know that'll never happen, but I'm going to keep saying it. And no giant logo center jerseys with no words. They look awful. They never look good. That's my take.
That's the bragging rights jersey. Bragging
I
rights jersey, man.
I don't care.
They beat Alabama to get to number 10 in the rankings one time in those jerseys.
Sure, I was at that game.
Mitchell Smith, you're not forgotten.
So there you go. Maybe those are coming back. I don't know. Probably not.
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
Sean East, main birds of the week. Kenny.
Yeah, my Sean East main bird of the week goes to someone we talked about at the top of the show, Jaylen Crowe Jr. If you guys know him, Missouri signee. He was named to the Rivals 2025-26 High School Boys Basketball National All-Americans team from Andy V and Rivals High School. So first team All-Americans, Jordan Smith Jr. going to Arkansas, Jaylen Crowe Jr. going to Missouri, Caleb Holtz, I believe, is going to Arizona, Tyron Stokes, don't know yet. That's still up in the air. 5-star top player in the nation, and then Darius Ratcliffe rounds it out as the USC commit. Ratliff. Excuse me.
I believe him and Adonis were the 2 that Tony Bryant dunked over.
One of them's going to USC. Are they both going to USC?
There's no way they're both not going to the same place, right?
Yeah, they're both going to USC. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say, really? Are we surprised by any of this anymore?
I will
say
that.
Which, go ahead.
Well, I was just giving another shout out to Marcus Spears Jr., which I will do every time these lists come out.
Right. Speaking of which, my main bird of the week is going to be Jaylen Crowe Jr., who we talked about at the top of the show. Maybe you know him. He's a Mizzou signee. This was pretty cool. He got announced as part of the Jordan brand. He Jumpman 23 announced it on Instagram and everything. From Inglewood to Mizzou, J2's mission remains the same. Welcome to the fam at Jaylen Crowe Jr. That's the caption. I've never moved on from a Mizzou basketball season so quickly. I'm ready to go next year, man. I really am.
Fire caption, a comment from Terry. Saw this young man when he's knee high. His work in the dark now shines in the light. Congratulations, 100 emoji. Woo-hoo.
Poetry.
This might be lyrics to a song.
It felt like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander Instagram caption. Look up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on Instagram for more information. This is very cool. Shout out the baggy basketball shorts that he's got on too. Like they were bringing that back.
Cool. Oh God!
Is it CJ McCollum? It's the Lehigh photo where they're just like huge on the one guy. I
think it is McCollum.
Yeah. Shout out to Jaylen Crowe Jr. I'm going to break up the Jaylen Crowe main bird hive
string of selections.
Yes, there's none left. My main bird this week is going to go to Matt Ryan. Now, let me clarify or explain why, because you see Mizzou
land the plane. You have to say land the plane. That's
all right. Let me land the plane. Well, I also kind of started because I think I sent you the wrong tweet, the wrong clip from Up and Adams, Kate Adams' show, MIZ, by the way. But this clip was not related to the one I was talking about. But Kevin Coleman went and visited with the Falcons. Matt Ryan is my main bird because he talked to Kevin Coleman Jr. and said, kind of complimented his game. They just talked ball. I probably learned this at the time, but totally forgot that Matt Ryan was elected as the just president of football for the Falcons.
That cost the Bears 2 third-round picks.
Wait, why?
Because they hired Ian Cunningham as the GM, and technically that's below his position, so the Bears didn't get 2 third-round picks for that.
What does that have to do? Oh, okay, I see.
Because it has to be the primary football
Yes, I see what you're saying. Atlanta hired that guy.
And president of football, Matt Ryan, is above Ian Cunningham.
I do think it's a hilarious title, but pretty cool. I mean, Kevin Coleman, you can tell in the clip, was like pretty excited, to get some praise as a receiver from, a quarterback that was very, very good in his day. And maybe we'll see him suit up for the Birds down in Atlanta. So also, I guess apparently Apparently,
Kevin
Andy Reid knows
Coleman-
who he is too. So
Yeah, that's not as surprising though. Close proximity.
right.
Kevin Coleman was a Louisville Cardinal, so even easier.
There's another one. All right. Best things you learned.
Najee
This week-
Hines committed to UConn.
Thanks. We know.
Thank you.
What do you mean you know?
I already saw.
Payton,
Did you know, Jack?
I didn't know. I
Oh, so it's not we.
Okay, remember when I said I grew up in the research triangle
is
and you
that?
went, "Oh, did you grow up in the research triangle?" Hey, Jack, did you know Payton grew up in the research triangle? Was that acceptable then? But now you being behind the 8 ball on Hines, all of a sudden I have to bend over backwards, cater to your every whim. Anyways, best thing I learned this week is going to be Mel Kiper's. Going to be his mock draft. He three players in it. Bears select Zion Young. That'd be really cool. I'd probably look into a jersey there. That'd be back-to-back years where my football team picks a player from my alum. The other Missouri player is Josiah Trotter, going 61 overall to the Los Angeles Rams.
No. I don't like that one. Sorry to interrupt you. Kenny, you want to share your best thing you learned? I think Peyton froze, actually. I think he's frozen.
No, he's there.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
waiting for Kenny
Wow.
to not be.
Yeah, I don't know. He kind of just went off there on me and kind of taken it
You
back.
think you didn't deserve it?
No, I honestly don't know what happened. I kind of blacked out. NFL draft.
Spill your beat.
Who committed to UConn? We're not
The
on
funny thing is, I went and looked at it. I said it a minute after it was announced. Like he announced it and it was tweeted, and then I sent it. And then
I just don't know who he is.
He was linked to Mizzou at one point. He's a Seton Hall transfer.
My bad.
All right. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but
Can you go, dude? Oh my god.
there's a chime playing. I'm not going to talk over the chime.
It's related to your best thing you learned.
Yeah, and you don't talk over the chime. CBS Sports unveiled a 3-round mock draft with massive
Oh, sorry. I was trying to do that really fast.
shakeup. Missouri, 73rd overall pick, Josiah Trotter to
Why
the
are you
Saints.
starting from the bottom?
Now we're here.
33rd overall pick, the first pick of the second round, Zion Young to the New York Jets.
Started from the bottom. Now
New
my
York
whole team
Tigers.
here.
Continue.
My best thing I learned. Let's go to the world of wrestling for a second. Mizzou wrestling, and specifically, and we'll go back to the world of transfer portal because Mizzou got an addition from the transfer portal. Shout out Zan, comes over from Wisconsin, adding to the Mizzou wrestling ranks. He is from Nixa, by the way, so come a little bit of a homecoming for Mr. Fugitt, probably. Fourth place at the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. He went 1-2 there last year. Did wrestle at 133 now, as I read in this well-written article over on the Missourian by Joseph Harris. Missouri has a little bit of a logjam at 133 pounds, so he could maybe change. Maybe have to wrestle at a different weight class. But yeah, big addition. He was an All-American, and now with the Tigers coming back home.
The best weights in Nixa come to play for the Tigers.
Parentheses, eventually.
One of these days.
Eventually. If Nick's wait, why am I blanking on his name?
Cantwell
comes over. What?
I was going to see how long we could let him go, Peyton, until he figured it out.
I wasn't gonna get it. My mind was going to like
He's having a segment.
if Cantwell joins Mizzou, is that the player? I guess that's the player to be named later in the Marcus Allen 2-sport deal.
No, Marcus Allen is the player to be named later in the Marcus Clark deal.
Oh, okay. So then Cantwell's just do you start a new trade string then, or does
new thing?
Okay,
We
got it.
gave them an NCAA tournament win, and Miami in return gives Missouri potentially the rights to Bryson Tiller in the portal and Jackson Cantwell.
All right. Best beats of the week. Shout out to FanDuel for these beats. We're going a little NBA action. And you know what? I'm going to go first because I have the most soon beat, I think. I don't remember what. Oh, yes. Okay. Little NBA and NHL action this week from FanDuel. I'm going to take, they might have already done it by the time you're listening to this podcast, the Charlotte Hornets to make the playoffs. They're not yet in. They have to win one more play-in game. They are minus 144 to do that. They will play the loser between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Orlando Magic on Friday night. And they are minus 144 to get into the playoffs. I love this Hornets team. I think they're very fun. They have a very great, their fans deserve a little playoff juice this year. And I think they might be on the up and up. But that's enough NBA talk for me. I've got them minus 144. Payton, how about you?
On the Hornets, there's a fun reel on Instagram going around of their announcer getting like cut off right before he like freaks out. So it's like, LaMelo!
Oh, yeah.
And then it gets cut off.
Eric Collins,
I think
dude.
there's like a dunk.
I love Eric Collins.
Goes, and like literally he's just going to scream.
It's a great video. Eric Collins is the man.
Who could ever forget when, was it Bismack Biyombo took a three and he went, oh my goodness! It had nothing else to say.
The one of the best ones ever is they played the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns was on the Timberwolves still, and he had I think 45 points in the first half, and he hit his last three like right before halftime, and he catches the ball, and Eric Collins just goes no, and then he makes it, and he just goes ah.
When the Bulls had a like epic comeback against them, he literally just by the end of it, it's such a dramatic, like overwhelming comeback. He just goes, "No, you're kidding! Yep. No!" And he makes. I think Levine hits a three.
Yes. So there you go, Hornets. Make the playoffs for Eric Collins. You're minus 144 to do so on FanDuel. Peyton, what's your beat?
I'm gonna stick in the NBA. I'm gonna take the Nuggets to win the finals at plus 1100. I don't know why. I just am gonna do that.
I think you don't want to be boring and take the Thunder.
The Thunder are late. I thought about the Spurs, but I was like, oh, I'll take their experience. I'll take the Nuggets. They've got playoff experience.
Jokic. Aaron Gordon's having a really good year.
Jamal
Murray's back.
Do you think they'll send MPJ an honorary ring?
No, he did not play for the team. So no.
I know, but like as a thank you for being here for so many years.
He got a regular ring. He doesn't need an honorary one. MPJ like almost got traded because he was playing so well for a tanking Brooklyn team. He's fine. He's doing just fine. He'll be on a good team soon.
I hope he has a new episode of his podcast soon.
Oh boy. Plus 1100 for the Nuggets on FanDuel to win the finals. Kenny, quickly pivot before we talk more MPJ podcast.
You guys want to guess who his next guest will be?
No, we really don't. We really should not do that.
All right. I'm going to take Sabres to win the Stanley Cup plus 1800. Does this mean my other one goes away? Like this, if this.
Yeah, one of these is going to be wrong. So.
But one of them could be right. And then each week, maybe before the Stanley Cup happens, I'll just keep taking someone to win.
Well, they're not in the same. Oh,
we don't have enough weeks to do that.
You don't know that. So I'm going to take the Oilers. I took the Oilers on February 26th at plus 11. That's.
Do you remember why you even did that?
Yeah, I do. Do you?
No, it hasn't dropped. It's the odds have climbed.
Was this an Olympic related one?
I don't think so. I think he watched a Pardon My Take.
No, I said Connor McDavid lost final time, and now he's going to win the big one.
Yeah, that's what it was. So it was.
I'm taking the Sabres because the Sabres have not been good like my entire lifetime. I had a Sabres beanie growing up. I got it at a gas station in upstate New York. I wore it. There's a photo of Peyton and I playing football in Stankowski at Mizzou. I'm wearing
the longest tenure.
That one you cannot.
I'm tweeting that photo right now. I look sickly in it. I look like really sickly.
I really do not look good at all.
We don't look good. We both of us. Like,
am I in this picture?
No, you're not.
No. It was back when we didn't know you. So it was just us two.
For those that don't know, maybe the first friendship in our big group in college was Kenny and Knowlton.
That's true, Kenny. We kind of did
I think that's true. Me and Abe met each other, but Abe is kind of.
I'm friends with Kenny
You're
because
saying a name that no one knows.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Kenny because I would hear him come out of his dorm room and I was just sitting there bored and I was just like, "What are you doing? Can I come?" That's literally what I did. And then he was too nice to say no. So
Yeah, he was so
we are.
nice. He told you to shut up when he was introducing.
Sure did.
Introducing each other.
He sure did.
You guys want a joke?
Sure.
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. How can you tell if a pig is hot?
Put it in a blanket.
Kenny got it. It's bacon. How can you tell if a pig is hot? It's bacon.
I thought it was a pigs in a blanket.
Yours was not a bad guess either.
That's one like if that is served anywhere, I don't think I'll ever refuse it. The pigs in a blanket is so good. Yeah.
They're very good.
So
I thought he meant just a pig.
Just pig. Isn't that
pig.
just bacon?
In general.
People don't just eat like pig meat, do they?
Ham?
Oh.
Pork chops. Bacon.
No, I meant like, like they call it bacon, but they don't. I guess they call it bacon, they call it ham, but they're not just like, we're having pig, like.
Well, then nobody goes, we're having cow.
You say it with a chicken, though.
I guess
you do say it with chicken, yes.
Why do they do it with chicken?
And you do say weirdly, yeah, we're having lamb.
Yeah.
But you don't go, we're having cow. We're having pig.
Don't have a cow, man.
I already had one earlier in the show.
I'm ending the show. This is what you subscribe for, folks. Please do so. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go over to FanDuel. You can place some wagers on the NBA playoffs. And we will have some more to talk about for Mizzou men's basketball transfer portal stuff coming up for you next show. And we will see you all next time.